Hey, Love Your Life fam. It's Crystal and Andre Holland.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, looking forward to hearing from you. So to find us, you can check us out on
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher. We look forward to hearing from you all.
Yeah, we came a long way, and that's what the song say. And I can do all things, I can do all things, yeah, I can do all things. Yeah, we came a long way,
Hey,
and
what's
that's
up,
what the
Love Your
song
Life
say.
family?
And I can do all
Holland here.
things,
We are
I
so
can do all
excited
things.
to have our first live podcast interview with my brother, my friend, Cory Mc Callum. We want to welcome you to the Loving Your Life podcast. Say what's up to the audience, my brother.
What's up, people?
Yes, we are excited about today. Cory and I, we go way, way back. He's my brother from another mother. And I think you know this. I actually do have a brother named Cory.
Yeah, I am aware of that.
Yeah. So we are excited to really kick off our first interview with Cory because he is also part of the Love Your Life team. We want the team to know who we're connected to and your tremendous story. So we're just going to have fun today. We're going to have a conversation, and we're going to get to know who Cory Mc Callum is. He is a husband, a father, a coach, a mentor, and we can go on and on. And so we're going to kick it off. I want to know, what was it like to be Cory as a kid?
Pretty, I would say a pretty active, ambitious kid. I always enjoyed learning and things of that nature. Pretty loving mother as well as a grandmother. For a large portion of that time. Probably about 10 years of age is when I discovered how much lack we had. It was hard to really see that we had any lack because of the love that as I mentioned, that my grandmother and my mother gave me. But then when I started to get older, as I mentioned again, that then I could see that there was lack of finances, lack of protection, which attributed to not much food.
Okay.
Not much electricity. Moving from place to place, evictions, things of that nature. And then also with the lack of protection portion of it, it allowed for some physical abuse.
Okay.
Towards my mom by another individual. So I had to witness that at a really early age, as I mentioned, 10 years of age.
So where are you from?
That's a good question. I thought the hats would tell it.
I was going to call the hat out real quick, but.
New York City, actually, from the Bronx, South Bronx. And then migrated over to Brooklyn. So I've been in a variety of different places, but I'm a New Yorker to heart. I bleed blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my town.
Now, when was the last time you went back to New York?
The last time I was there was last March. I normally go back 2 to 3 times a year, but due to the current restrictions, I'm not as able to go as I would normally be. I would have already gone. I would already be setting up a vacation to which is really not a vacation, but to go visit the town in June. But again, due to the restrictions, I'm not able to do that at this time.
Okay. So going back to what you said, as a young Black boy growing up in New York City, dealing with lack, but also foundationally knowing what love looks like. By the time you're 10, you said you're exposed to abuse. How did, as a 10-year-old, how did that affect you?
It's a really good question. At the time, it affected me. I probably was more shy. I didn't do well in school at that time. I always was concerned. I think I would say the word that I would use is paranoid.
Okay.
Paranoid at that at the rightful age of 10 through 14 or 15, but paranoid because I wasn't sure when these traumatic experiences will occur. They were so constant and frequent, but there was no like precursor, if you will,
Right.
that I could witness or could understand. So yeah, that was tough.
Now, were you an only child?
No, not the only child. I was the eldest of my mother's children. So yes, I think it was myself and my sister, and probably one of my brothers at that time. Just as I think about the age group, I think my sister is 2 years younger than myself. So she was 8, and I think my brother was probably 4, 3 or 4 when I was 10.
Okay, so you're dealing with being young and Black in New York, the oldest sibling, and exposed to domestic violence by the time you're 10 years old, up until about 14 years old. And so as the oldest sibling, did a lot of responsibility fall on you?
Right. Yes, it did. I was the protector. I remember we had roles. And let me just say this: I'm Hispanic as well, so I'm Black. My father was African American. My mother was Puerto Rican. So just wanted to make sure that that you understood, that you knew that about me as well. So
Yeah.
So yes, as I mentioned, we played different roles, and I was as the eldest, I was the protector or the attempt to protect, and my sister was she was the voice. When I say voice, she would cry and yell.
Okay.
Then one of my other brothers, younger brothers, who's younger than my sister, he was the observer, so he would just watch. So it was very interesting how we had these different roles without realizing and recognizing that we have roles. So whenever these type of situations occurred, I would be the protector or attempt to protect, the voice, and then my brother at the time, I had another brother later on, but at the time my brother was the observer.
So as a protector, what did that look like for you? Because this started at age 10, right? Where you were learning like how to protect.
Right. Absolutely.
And so because that was something you mentioned, that you lacked protection. So how did you protect without knowing what protection looked like?
Wow. It was more instinctive. I knew my mom. I know that was my mother. So I would just try to get in front of her. I would try to fight. I would do whatever I could do to get that negative attention off of her, and have it come towards me. So I try to alleviate the pressures that she by becoming involved in the physical confrontation.
And on average, how many times would you say this happened a week?
Probably 2 to 3 times.
Man, and so this went on for 4 years or longer?
Yeah, I believe it was longer, but again, like I mentioned, it was just when I start to realize what was really taking place.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when a person is so young, they don't. If that's all they see, they really believe that's an expression of love. So that's what I did when I was younger than 10. I just, even though it was chaotic and ridiculous, but I really thought it was like an expression of love because my mom would go back.
Wow.
So I didn't understand if this is really going on, if there's physical, there's someone being hurt, someone blood and these things of that nature, then why go back to that situation? So at 10 is when I started to recognize that it was chaotic and this wasn't supposed to be, this is not a display of love.
Man. Wow, that's huge. So hearing all of this, obviously right now during COVID-19, there's been, I believe, I could be off by a little bit, a 15% increase in domestic violence. So what would you say to a child growing up right now in domestic violence?
I would say be the voice. And what I mean by that is convey that to someone, someone at school, a trusted adult, the authorities. I never once called the police. I was so afraid of what could possibly happen. So in my mind, what could possibly happen was more fearful. I was more fearful of that, whatever that was, because I thought that there was another level of abuse.
Okay.
So I never did any of that. I just would try to engage and intervene on my own. But I would tell someone dealing with that, witnessing that, to be a voice. Tell someone, run to a neighbor's house, do something, because it definitely, unfortunately, it has haunted me. And I think this could have been alleviated if I would have known to take the proper precautions and inform someone.
So let's go back to that fear of the unknown, like the belief that it was going to escalate. Now that you look back on that, was the fear of it escalating a lie?
It was exactly a lie.
Okay.
It was exactly a lie.
And it's interesting because it was also your way, as I hear your story, your way of protecting your mom or protecting your siblings, because you did not know why that lie became truth to you, because it was like the other situations were out of your control, but you could control not making a call that could potentially escalate the situation. And it really sounds like it was birthed out of what you did not have. And so you were driven to protect. And I think that that's huge. And just seeing how when you go without, that you adjust, you do what you do, you reframe it and tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself to protect yourself and those that you do love, because it wasn't extended to you. So I think that that's crucial that you've said that, you know, like it was not true that it was going to escalate in your particular situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that so much that it just brought back a quick flashback of not wanting to utilize or spend the time going to get help because I would believe I thought that while I'm gone, not protecting, that the severity of the situation is becoming worse. But I don't see it and I don't know it because I'm somewhere else trying to receive assistance.
Man, we could literally talk about this the entire time because there's so many layers to this. So I want to bring back and let's have like another to really unpack this from a kid's perspective. And then being the oldest and looking at how our culture here in America has evolved, and there's still these stigmas and stereotypes towards Black men and Black boys. So you had all that on you consciously and subconsciously in the midst of all that you were already dealing with. And that's major. And so I'm really looking forward to our audience really being able to hear where you're at today. But we're going to journey there, so let me slow down. Where's your father in your life? You've said a lot about your mother and grandmother. Where's your father at this time in your life?
You know, he existed. I knew that. I recall seeing him as a really, really young boy, and then there was some time away. My dad was a good man. He just he had vices, and one of his vices were women. He had like a variety of different like relationships, from what I recall, and he enjoyed drinking alcohol.
Okay.
In many cases, I really believed. I remember growing up, and I remember believing that he loved his vices more than he loved his children. So we didn't have such a great relationship as a young boy because he just wasn't around as much. And if he was around, I expected him to be our protector. So I was looking for that, but didn't receive that. So that created some distance on my part as well.
Did you know how to find him when you needed him?
That's a good question. I didn't. No, I didn't.
So if it came down to a time that you were looking for your dad, what did that look like for you? Like, how would you go about finding him?
You know, I would go to the last place of employment. And this was when I was a teenager, where I could be able to ride the train down. He was an insurance broker, so I remember he worked downtown in New York City. Astor Place, to be exact, and take the 6th train. See, I remember all this. But that's what I would do. My sister and I, we would go down there to see him at his job. We knew that he was going to give us some funds because, again, we lacked for so long. He was looking for anyone to provide. And but I would go to my father's, and he would father's job, and then we would talk a little bit. And I remember all of his employees or coworkers would always say, "Man, you got some beautiful kids. They sure don't look like you." That was like the joke in the at the office. But then at times he would have me, as a young boy, meet him at bars. Happy hour with his friends. He would have me come and just sit there. he considered that spending time with his son.
Man. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah, me either.
So after all of this, being a teenager, growing up, and seeing how your relationship with your pops developed and evolved, what eventually landed you in Arizona? What brought you to Arizona?
Wow.
Out of all places.
I know. All places. Crossroad. It was, first of all, it was divine intervention. Let me say that
Okay.
first and foremost. But it was a crossroad. I had unfortunately got mixed up in some extracurricular activities, and due to that, I was hospitalized for 3 months. And I hospitalized for 3 months. Just digest that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to process that right now.
So what that does is it gives you a lot of time. And I was thinking, obviously, and I was going through an array of thoughts, because one of the thoughts was, I can't wait to get out so I can get this situation that put me here. That's the initial thought. And then you're sitting there and you got people bathing you and doing this and doing that, taking care of you. You can't walk, you're in a wheelchair, you're this and that. And again, then I had the other thought, like, is it going to be worse next time?
Right.
So wrestling with those thoughts, I get out, and I get out of the hospital, I get released from the hospital, and now I have to function on my own pretty much, and go back to the same neighborhood where this offense took place.
Okay.
So that didn't obviously sit well with a person, with me anyway. But that's the only option I had. I didn't have many other options. So I did that, and when you're a part of your environment, you are a part of your environment.
Right.
Still mentally processing the get back to those individuals who caused this 3-month stay, surgeries and things of that nature. So
As you're thinking about that, like at this point in your life, give me 3 words that would describe your reputation.
live wire, a loyal, protector.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I went back to my hood, to Brooklyn, and I was on a corner one day, on a street corner, in front of the bodega. That's what they call little stores in New York. And I was in front of there. I was in front of the bodega with 2 of my close friends. And there was a plane that flew by. Now, this is after I'm released out of the hospital and things of that nature. Still engaging in extracurricular activities.
Okay.
Part of the environment, you're part of your environment. And I remember seeing a plane fly by overhead of us while we were on the corner. And I look up, And I said, man, I want to get on that plane. The reason why I want to get on that plane, because I had a son who was conceived in New York City, but born in Arizona.
Okay.
Migrated from New York City, came to Arizona with her family. And this is where my son was born. And he was about a year at that time. So I was doing the fatherly thing, long distance. Baby shower, everything, long distance, everything was taken care of. But that particular day, I'm looking up in the sky and I said, I want to get on that plane. So the two brothers that was my guys, I guess I prompted that in their spirit. Like, man, I want to go too. I want to go somewhere too. So one wanted to go to Virginia and one wanted to go to Atlanta. So we all felt like, you know what, we need to get out of here, make as much money as we can, but we need to get out of here. And then we can reconvene later on in life as granddads and things of that nature. And so everybody was on board. Well, unfortunately, weeks after that revelation, I would say, the two gentlemen that I spoke of were murdered a day apart. There was three of us. Those guys were subtracted from our life.
Within what time frame of having that conversation?
I want to say a month.
Man.
And
the time that their lives were taken, were you planning to be with them at the place where they were killed?
Oh, interesting that you asked that question. Yes, it was on my block. It was at a party. One was at a party that we were gonna go to, with the party was across the street. So that happened to that brother. That was my guy. He had a child already. Like he was married. It was just
Wow.
So after that, the other guy wanted to seek revenge. Right?
Right.
Wait. So there was I was all in. Somehow, I don't know how this all took place, but the other guy went to go seek revenge without me. I don't know anyway, I know it's God, but I don't know exactly how. I don't recall how we missed each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then my other guy who went to go revenge my other dude's life, he got murdered.
Man.
Yeah. So now I'm in a situation where two of my guys, there's only three of us. So now I'm alone. But now I got to figure out. So now I'm protector. And now all these things that I once were, even as a young kid,
mm-hmm.
come back. So now I'm a protector. Now I'm faced with, man, what am I going to do? I'm by myself.
Right.
So that's where I said it's now or never. I traveled didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to purchase a ticket to go to another state. But I did have $20,000 on me. And that's when I decided I'm leaving New York City and I'm going to raise my kid, because if I don't do it now, I may never be given the chance again. And I moved to Arizona.
So you stacked your money, packed your bag, figured it out, came on to Arizona to be a father.
I didn't even have a bag, sis. I had a Timberland box. I left everything behind. Because anything I went back for, I always thought I won't make it back. You know how those movies when the guy is about to get out the hood or get out the situation and he's about to go do well for himself, and then something. I've seen it happen too much, where people are trying to do better with their lives or do something or whatever, and then it's interrupted. So I didn't want that on myself.
Uh-huh.
I would consider it, I would call it fearful. I was fearful of trying to go obtain anything that I once had, which that means clothes, anything. I didn't want to do any of that. And I was gone.
Man. How old were you at this time?
It was 27.
Wow. So you are finally in Arizona, made your way here, and your son was a year old at this point?
Yes. Almost.
Okay. So you were active and involved in his life, doing it long distance, and now so you're here face to face with him, you're committed to raising your son. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how did your career take a turn? Like what decisions did you have to make with you had 20 grand on you, had your box and came to handle business. So what steps did you take to reframe your life?
Wow. That was a whole process in itself. I remember getting off the plane saying, what is this?
I thought it was culture shock.
Oh, it was amazing. It was incredible. I couldn't believe where I decided to be. And I seen some cactus and some whoa. So anyway.
Was it amazing in a good way, or like what did I get myself into?
What did I get myself into? Because I said to myself, well, it's pretty slow out here. I'm about to make a killing. The mentality, like you can move a person out of wherever, it doesn't automatically switch.
Right.
So I was still on some other stuff. I still was like, yo, let's make it happen. Who do I need to meet? And things of that nature. Yeah, so that was a very interesting time. But I started out, so I didn't have a job per se when I was I didn't have a 9-to-5. But I knew my way around. But I knew I had to do something. So when I got here, got connected, and I started to work at a hotel as a dishwasher.
Wow.
That was my first job in Arizona. I was a dishwasher.
What was your attitude about washing those dishes?
It wasn't a good one, put it that way.
Okay.
My hands were burning. People yelling at me because I needed to speed it up. I couldn't go at my own pace. I thought I could go at my own pace. I couldn't. So anyway, that was troubling. But I stuck with it, and then promotions started to happen just in that whole process. And then I switched over to working banquet setup. So I started to set like rooms up for a guest or like conferences and things of that nature. And that's when I came across a young lady by the name of Brenda. She saw me. I was working her function, and she said, "Hey, you should work with kids." Now, first of all, I really thought she was talking to somebody behind me because there was no way she would be talking about me working with kids. I'm like, this woman don't really know me. Like, she's seen me a couple of times. We spoke, but I never like gave her my life. Like, oh, let me tell you about me. Like, I'm not.
Right.
So, or especially at that time. So anyway, she mentioned that and she said, well, she said, why don't you consider that? I said, ma'am, I have nothing to offer to some young people, believe me. She said, no, I'm serious. I really feel that you should do. And I said, all right. But she at the time was an assistant principal at a school, Moon Valley High School. So she asked me to come to the district and fill out some paperwork or whatever. But she was the one who introduced me to school as mentor / this. Obviously, I had to get some credentials in order to be a teacher and things of that nature. But that was, she like was the stepping stone. Like God used her to get me to see more, to see how influential I was, even despite what I, formally went through, right? So she was the one who opened that door, and I mean, she was a woman of her word. She vouched for me. She taught me some things, and I thank her so much for seeing that in me. So, and to exposing me to better. So, unfortunately, she has since passed on, but she was probably, I would say, the most instrumental person in Arizona to get me to have different thoughts and a different view of life.
Brenda Davis is an incredible, incredible woman. She has impacted both of our lives. I cannot wait to send this interview to her children, where they can continue to see that the seed that she planted continues to grow and to develop, and that you are continuing to live out this legacy of changing lives one person at a time, and how significant that conversation and that divine connection was, and how it's still working and moving. And so we just want to honor her and pay tribute to her. She loved hard, loved hard.
Big facts, because that's exactly what she has been in my life.
So you mentioned you started out at the hotel washing dishes and doing the banquet, and eventually you continued to move up in the company. Here comes Brenda Davis, and she's like, it's time for you to shift directions, brother. You're supposed to be with some kids. Which landed you where? Where did your life go from there?
Landed me at her school, where she was the principal at Moon Valley. I worked for a program called the Vanguard program. That was for at-risk students.
Oh, wow.
At-risk students.
Man.
Who would have thunk? I mean, like, at-risk. So I got in there, and I was so appreciative of that job. I used to take the bus. I didn't drive. New York City, you don't drive, really. So I took the bus to the school to assist these students who were considered at-risk students.
So as you say that real quick, I'm sitting here trying to think of are you 27 at this time still, or 28?
28-ish, yeah.
Okay, so here you come out of this massive city, people everywhere, humidity, to this dry heat catching the bus. I'm trying to envision that. Did the heat discourage you? Were you like, no?
You're touching on some things. You're absolutely right. Let me tell you what it did. First of all, I remember working at the hotel, and I think you and I had a conversation pertaining to something like this with your own sibling. But I remember wearing a towel. I would wear a wet towel on my head while I wait for the bus, so I can be, pretty as comfortable as I possibly can. But I remember that, and then I remember one day waiting for the bus, and I had my son with me, and I believe he was 3 years old at the time, 3 or 4. And I had my son with me, and I remember how red his cheeks were. we were waiting on this bus. See, I used to take my son to work with me and while I set up tables because I didn't have any other type of support. I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't know where to go. So things of that nature. So you bring up a valid point. And so my son's face would be so red that I purchased a vehicle and did not know how to drive the vehicle. I didn't have a license for the vehicle. I purchased the vehicle and had someone else drive it to my complex where I was living. And every night I would drive that car around the complex, because I never had driven a vehicle before. But that's how I taught myself how to drive a car. So I love that you're talking about something that, how will, we have this will. And if we really want to do something, and we really our minds are so vast and so powerful that if we really put our minds to something, that we can accomplish basically anything. And I remember having this vehicle. It was a Cadillac DeVille. It was gray. It had burgundy interior. And I purchased that thing, and I couldn't even drive it because I didn't know how to drive it. Not because I didn't have a license. I didn't know how to drive it. But again, one of my friends drove it to my apartment, and it sat out there. And every night, as I mentioned, I would drive around the complex in the parking lot. And that's how I learned how to drive a car.
So how long did it take you?
Oh, probably 1,000 years. No, I'm stuck. You know what? To be comfortable, probably 3 months.
So I'm just sitting here, and it's just the way my mind operates. I love hearing details. So just knowing that what provoked you was, again, protection, wanting to protect your son.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
saw something hurting him that was not going to be good for him if you kept going the way that you were going, and you went into that protection mode. And then, like you said, your will to do better for him. It's just amazing. It's just a common denominator for you. And just seeing how it just continued to give birth at different seasons in your life, but the need to protect, continuing to provoke you and drive you to do better. It's just amazing. It is amazing. So I know one of the many titles you wear is coach. So when did the coaching game begin for you?
Yeah, I at Moon Valley High School. I remember Brenda's son was playing. He was a running back for the football team, and I remember walking out there one practice just to be around kids. I was pretty athletic as a youngster, and I just wanted to be. I wanted to be to someone who I didn't have in my own life. The lack that I did have in my life with positive role models and things of that nature. I wanted to just be that. I just wanted to change. And I remember going out there and watching those guys, and I started coaching a little bit of football on the lower levels, and then met the varsity basketball coach over there, and just let him know I want to hang around, and I want to help. And I think it derived from when I was back in Brooklyn as a youngster. The kids used to always call me coach, and I never understood that. Like coach, put me in. And I'm a little older than those guys, but we were all playing the game. But I always viewed everything from a coaching perspective, I believe. That's what I gathered that's why they called me coach. So it was just crazy how this thing was coming to fruition. And I started to volunteer as a basketball coach at the lower level at Moon Valley High School. And he welcomed me. This one coach, Coach Bowie, he welcomed me, and he welcomed me so well that I remember after 2 years of volunteering, I remember him giving me a check every 2 weeks out of his pocket, his handwritten check, his personal check, as compensation for the work that I was doing.
And that's huge in the education arena, knowing that the stipends a coach get don't even pay half their value.
Absolutely.
And so what he saw in you, he was willing to invest. So here comes another individual. First it was Brenda Davis. Now you said Coach Bowen?
Bowie.
Here he comes. Giving you an opportunity and then sowing into you, sowing into good ground. Now, I don't know if that's what he would have called it, but that's basically what he was doing. He's like, oh, this is good ground.
That's exactly what he was doing. I don't know if he, understood the magnitude of that, but I'm always so appreciative of that gentleman.
So you started out as the freshman coach at Moon Valley?
Yes.
And how long did you coach there?
I coached there for 5 years. Yeah, 5 years.
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit. Again, this is just how my mind is pre-wired. So I'm sitting here listening to, and we would need about 10 hours to truly unpack your story. But looking at your journey so far and the persistence and everything that you've done to get to where you are, here you are with how many players on your team?
12.
And was it a diverse team culturally?
Yes.
Okay. So you have all these different cultures. You didn't have the examples that you wanted as men leading you. So how do you jump in and lead these young men and not lose your cool? Like not flip?
Wow.
Because I'm thinking about hormones, I'm thinking about attitudes. Kids, they can challenge you. And then when you're trying to teach them something and they think they know everything, I mean, and I can't speak for these kids. I don't know what their attitudes were. But one thing I know about you is you have no problem coming in and laying down the law. You have no problem doing that. Let it be known. I'm thinking about that scene in The Titans when Denzel says, "Who's your daddy?" And I'm not saying you did that, but you have to come in there and regulate and set the tone. But what was that like for you? Because there's that protector, there is now a leader on the campus, and you having to be what somebody wasn't willing to be for you.
That's good. I attribute that to discipline. The discipline that I developed. I didn't always have it. So I knew that my life was going in the right direction because of the foundation of discipline. So I knew that if I can help insert some discipline in these young people at this age, they probably wouldn't have to go through half the stuff that I had to encounter because of having a lack of discipline.
Right. And so looking at you having the ability to hone in on what did work for you, and then make it your goal to multiply that in these young men, because you saw what discipline produced in your life, the fruit of it. And then starting with that as a focus, let me teach them what discipline will produce. That's just incredible. So you're at Moon Valley, coached there for 5 years. So what transitioned you out of Moon Valley?
Another opportunity presented itself. I got contacted by another coach who was coaching at Washington High School, and then I was offered a job to teach there as well. So I was teaching at Moon Valley, but I was teaching hospitality. So I was from the hotel business, then I became a hospitality teacher, a foods teacher, culinary teacher. I became all of these things because of that foundation of, the hotel business. And then I was offered a special education job at Washington High School, as well as a junior varsity coach. So I transitioned into that fairly well. Different group of individuals, like players. Then, so that was a little different from where I came from, but my background was that, right? So I was able to kind of like, oh, okay, this is what this is, okay. So I would call it adapting like a chameleon. I do that really, really well. I'm really aware of how well I can get into a situation, or I can speak a certain way, or depending on the situation, I can adapt to it really, really well, basically what I'm saying. And so I was able to do that with a different demographic, of youngsters. And that was awesome as well. And that's where I actually met you, Crystal.
Yeah.
That was some years ago, but I remember we taught together, and I would say we helped elevate some lives. It was probably one of my not one. It was my most my greatest experience in teaching was at that school with you and a host of others, but with you and in our classroom, and how we were able to impact the young people's lives as I see them on Facebook and things of that nature. And now they have children and things of that nature. But I remember that time so well, and thankful for it. So it was a very awesome time.
It was just a life-changing experience, and I appreciate you sharing that. That is why it was so hard to resign. And when I sit back and I reflect back when we were teaching together, we were life coaching then. We were so focused on the lives of these kids, and when we were able to deal with them on a human level, they were able to learn, and they were thriving. And both of us, through our own personal journeys and experience, really brought that to the table. It was unorthodox and unique, and there were people that tried to challenge us, but it was working. And so when you handpicked for an assignment, regardless of what people say or do, they cannot disrupt God's plan through us. And so it was just definitely a divine connection. Meeting you for the first time, your personality stuck out to me like a sore thumb. And I was like, who is this cat? Like, because you looked hard, but you were so tender at the same time. But you could give a look that was cut, man. I was like, is he mad? Or, and somebody could walk in the room and you look. And I'm like, oh Lord, is he good? Oh, what's up, sis? And I'm like, what's up, man? And we just continued right from there. It was literally like we had grown up together, and just coming together and putting assignments together and different things to truly impact their lives with more than education and life skills and coping skills and how to talk. And I even think it was therapeutic for us because of what we had been through, and then having the opportunity to truly be able to pour that back into these kids, and they wanted it. That was what made it so powerful, because they were like empty cups, like, fill me up. And it was just a beautiful, tremendous experience. And anytime I run into them, they're 27, 28 years old now. And they're like, I remember you and Mr. McCallum, and you changed my life. And it's just amazing to hear, and just, again, you never know what you're going through and who it's for. And so yeah, man. So now you are coach, you're teacher, and now let's get to, and father, my bad. Now let's get to husbandhood. He's married now. How did you meet your wife? And how did you know she was the one?
Yeah. Well, I was coaching at Washington, coaching softball now. So I transitioned from basketball to I coached everything. God just said, I want you to be a coach. He didn't say specific what he wanted me to coach. So I was coaching softball at Washington, and one of the athletes was having an asthma attack on the field, a severe asthma attack, where she needed oxygen. And she had the oxygen in her bag. I never forget. Now, there's no outlets on a baseball field, unfortunately, or I didn't know where they were. I remember getting her phone. She's turning blue.
Oh, man.
Getting her phone. I drove that girl to my house. We called her mom before we got there. Called her mom and asked her, was it okay for me to, but her mom had known of me, and asked her mom and her dad, can I drive her to the house where I know I have an outlet? She can go ahead and get this, get the oxygen that she needs. Her mom and her dad race over to my house because I'm like, she needs some medical attention.
Man.
So they come get Desiree. Desiree was her name. They come get Desiree. Her mom couldn't thank me enough. Her dad couldn't thank me enough. Just so happened that her mom worked with my now wife. They worked together. So when her mom saw how caring and things of that nature that I was, her mom was like, hey, I met this young man, my daughter's coach. I think you need to meet him. And my wife at the time was getting out of a marriage.
Okay.
So she was dealing with her own stuff. But so she wasn't interested, so she said. So in a relationship, right? So we so that was
I heard that little giggle at the end. She wasn't interested, huh?
so so anyway, Desiree is good, health is great, it was a great thing. Parents extremely excited, thankful for my assistance. And they were going to Metro Center Mall some weeks later. And the young lady, which would be my wife now, was with her. So they were really trying to like hook this thing up. I wasn't all that, anyway, concerned. But we met at, just so happened we bumped into each other, all of us. So it was like, oh, this is the coach and this and that. And so I was looking at her. I was like, hey, I said, yeah, that's me. I can be a little, I can be a little flamboyant at times, but I said, yeah. So yeah, that's me. I'm the coach. And she was like, oh, so I heard about what you did. That was really nice, whatever. Anyway, she tried to act like she wasn't interested. But every time we talk about this situation, I tell her that she was into me. I can tell by her earlobe. Like it moved. No, let me stop. So anyway, so he would also say that I asked her for her number. See, I learned how to say ask. See, back in the day, I would just say ask. See? learn how to speak when you get some education on you. But so she's telling everyone, and to this day, that I asked her for a number when she was asking me for my number. I actually told her friend, I said, hey, your friend digs me. I'm just telling you. Because she went to the restroom while we were at Metro Center. We was at the food court. And he walked away. And I was like, I'm just telling you that your friend digs me. That's it.
You were pretty bold.
Yeah, I'm different. I was different. But anyway, so next thing you know, we exchanged numbers, or I got her number or whatever. And I'll admit to that. I received her number. And I contacted her, and we went out on a couple of dates or whatever. We love to go to the movies and stuff like that. But it was like really cool. It was genuine. I just lost my grandmother, my Hispanic grandmother, and that's who she reminded me of because of her soul, how nice she was. And when you asked the second question, how did I know she was the one? That's how I knew she was the one. It's because she loved my children.
Man.
I watched her interact like she wasn't trying to like be, you know how some people try to be over or overt.
Yeah.
Trying to like impress. She was not like that, but she was very loving towards my kids. And I was like, man, that's important because I'm a protector. So that quality has to be there. So that's how I knew that she was the one.
That's incredible. So how long have you all been married today?
I'm sorry. We are 7 years.
7 years. All right. And so you mentioned she reminds you of your grandmother, her gentle soul. And she is also of what descent?
Hispanic.
Yes, like your mama. Like that grandmama.
So that's amazing So, yep.
All right. So I want to jump ahead here real quick. So tell me the top 3 things your students would be absolutely shocked to know about you.
Let's see. One would be, how many times I dropped out of high school. That would definitely do something to them. Like, what? Yeah, I dropped out of high school like 3 times.
3 times?
3 occasions.
Okay. So how long did it take you to graduate?
Almost 8 years.
And how old were you when you graduated?
I was almost 23. I was 22. But, I look so young that, I was able to get in there like, hey, I'm not 20.
Okay, so I want to let's unpack this for a minute. So it took you a total of about 8 years to graduate. You were about 23. Now, I want your students to know, how many college degrees do you have?
I have
From associates and everything, certifications. Put it out there.
Probably 6 in totality.
And what are they in?
Hospitality, life coach, special education, behavior sciences degree, culinary arts degree, and I gotta look on my. I gotta look over here. Yeah, wow. I have more degrees than a thermometer. Put it down.
So what does that say about your situation and your upbringing? Did not stop you from achieving, thriving, pushing, and succeeding in all, and it all being the catalyst to where you are today.
I agree wholeheartedly.
No excuses.
No days off.
What's another one that they would be shocked to know about you?
I experienced homelessness as a high schooler.
What did that look like for you? Where were you sleeping at?
Park. bench.
Were you alone or were you with siblings, your mom?
No, I was with a dog. His name was Diesel. It's a pit bull by the name of Diesel.
Was he just a random dog out there or was he yours?
He was a stray that I took into the park. And yeah.
How long were you homeless?
I want to say that was probably a 3 to, wow, that's probably like I'm trying to get a real good number. I would say that was a 2 to 4 month process.
And did that contribute to the dropping out of high school?
Yes.
Okay. It was a huge part. How were you eating? What did that look like for you?
I would go to some friend's house to eat. I remember I would go to a couple of relatives' houses just to eat, to get strong enough to go to the train station and rob somebody.
Man.
So I just wanted to have that strength, so I would eat whatever they were eating, but that would help me gain more funds.
Wow. Oh, man. And how old were you?
It's a vital time. I was 16 through like 18.
So it was off and on. You would go from being homeless and having a home and then go back to being homeless?
Yeah. So I want to say younger. I want to say 14 to 16, because when I got to 16, then I had some more consistency in my life. And this lady took me in.
Okay. And who's this lady that took you in?
Letitia. Her name was Letitia. Yeah, she took me in. She said I had to finish high school. So that's why it took me so long to finish high school, because I was just plugging away. I was living in Brooklyn, going to school in the Bronx.
Man.
So it all started really quick. It was because I will never fail to mention her, Miss Vega. She was one of the most instrumental individuals at my earlier years of life, teenage years, that I can even come up with. She basically saved my life. She was a motherly figure while I was in high school, and she was a great advocate for me.
That's incredible. There's so many things you keep mentioning, and I have to watch myself because I just want to keep asking you questions in that area. But what's the third thing that they would be shocked to know about you?
That I used to carry that I was a gun toter, and I wore bulletproof vests.
From what age to how early did that start?
That probably started about 19 to like 23, 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start getting this book going. Your story, man. And again, it's like we're only touching just bits and pieces of it.
Right.
Wow. That's huge. So throughout all of this, how does your faith play a role in your life?
It plays a significant role in my life, for a variety of reasons, but I realize who saved me. I realize I realized it was God that protected me through all of this whole process, because there's no way that I could have been able to protect myself like that. And then he purposed this stuff in me so early on in life, and to see it flourishing, come to its standing point right now. It's what I live by. It's my faith is everything that I have. I don't have much other than that. And I'm so thankful to God. So that's one of the reasons why I do as much as I do, is because he's given me the opportunity to, and he's given me this life for me to affect change and things of that nature. And when things that haven't gone so well, I always look at it as, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus went through that, and more severely. Why wouldn't I? If he called me, why wouldn't I endure trials and tribulations?
Right.
You know, so that's what I always base everything upon now, is my faith and my faith in God, and I love what I've learned. But most importantly, I enjoy elevating people's lives, and that's what Jesus did. He elevated people's lives, and I'm not a comparison to Jesus. I'm just a disciple, and that's how I live. I live with that. I was
Well,
disciple when I thought I was a disciple.
say that again.
I was discipling before I even thought I was a disciple.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So just again, just how much everything slowly comes together. And there's so many, you look at your life like a puzzle,
Amen.
and it's just all coming together. So what are some things that are misunderstood about you? What is like taken wrong about you?
My stern demeanor. If people only knew how caring I was, if people knew that that was a characteristic that you had to have in order to survive. And another thing is, if people only knew what goes through a person's mind. Sometimes the demeanor or the sternness is not because of an individual that you're in front of. It could be a thought that just races through your head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so but I believe I'm extremely caring, but it's hard to see that if you don't get to know me.
Most definitely. That's huge. I can see it. I definitely. I told you when I first met you, I was like, "Who is this cat?" Dang, them looks could cut. I was like, "Whoa!" I said, "Let me get over here and have a conversation. Let me get to know this brother." And it continued to blossom, and it was amazing. And so how do you relax and reset?
You know, through prayer. And I know that people say, "Yeah, that of course that's going to be his answer," but that is the truth. Prayer, it gets my mind right. Meditation.
Do you have a favorite scripture?
Yeah. When I was a child, I spoke as a child.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And so just having that time meditating on the word and talking to God to
Yeah.
reset you and get
Yeah.
you going, helps you to relax. That's huge.
Is,
Huge, huge.
I'm sorry. Another one is, like, if it's a place and it's a beach. Like, beaches do something to me. Like, on the relaxed mode, like there's no cares. Like the waves, you see the waves and the sand and then the sun is setting and things of that nature. Like, there's no care. Like, if you really focus on those things, there's nothing. Those things are taking place without a care.
Yeah.
So that's what I relate to get me on my relaxed state. And reading, of course, always.
Do you have a book you're reading right now?
You know, the Coach's Bible.
Oh,
Coach's Bible. It's incredible. But I'm
okay.
and it's
Okay, I have to check that out.
yeah. It's definitely relevant.
So tell me, Cory, what does loving your life mean to you?
Loving your life mean to me is taking care of yourself, taking care of other people. In turn, that you're taking care of yourself. Anytime you do something nice for someone, or you do something that is, that is a beautiful gesture towards someone, it does something for your own body.
Yeah.
Loving your life is being responsible. Along with that, being responsible, I live by this motto, no days off. And I say that because no days off means to me is that I don't take days off. I don't take days off of being a father, of being a husband.
That's good.
I don't have time to do that. So learning, like reading books and things of that nature, literature, and just being in tune with what's going on, that those are no days off principles. So that's what loving your life means to me, is impacting and elevating other people, taking care of yourself, being responsible.
So tell me, what words of encouragement do you have for our audience during this COVID-19 pandemic? I know Arizona, we're on our 10th week, going into our 10th week, I believe, being on the quarantine. We know certain facilities are opening back up and it's looking different for every state, but what would you say to encourage someone today that's struggling with loving their life in the midst of this COVID-19?
Do what you can to recognize that everything has an end.
Everything has an end.
Has an end.
Unpack that for us.
There are things that take place, whether good or bad, but in this case, let's say more in a more difficult season. Seasons change. So that's what I mean by end. So we have our fall season. We may take falls during this season.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what's coming behind it?
Yeah.
So the transitioning from fall to spring. Spring flowers bloom. It's beautiful. The air is cleaner. So that's how I look at things like that. And that's one of the things that I would say to people, people who are stuck at home. One of the things I would say to them is stay in the present. Stay in the present. Don't overthink it. Stay in the present. You're missing so many opportunities to have real legitimate conversations with those that you live with.
Right. That's good.
Ask questions out of curiosity, not out of judgment.
Oh, that's good.
Try to get an understanding of why a person thinks, or they may have their own belief system about a thing. Be curious. Ask questions. People are willing to unpack when they know that it's coming from a place of curiosity and not judgment. It's just easier to have a legitimate, candid conversation. And I would encourage individuals, lastly, to work on being better at whatever it is. Like this Zoom stuff, I'm an expert now. Prior to this, Zoom, what? So I took the time to learn certain things that I didn't know, and it passes some time.
Mm-hmm.
So work on your body, work on your mind, don't forget about those things. Stay relevant because you are. Stay relevant.
That's huge. I believe we're going to have a part 2 again. And I said this to you prior to us even meeting, because there's so much to your story that we didn't even get to yet. But your story is tremendous to me. And again, you just can't unpack it all at this time. But I do believe that many times people that are on the front lines of life, in the trenches, doing the work, get overlooked. And I really want to use this platform to shed a light on those that are hands-on, killing it, grinding and doing what they have to do to heal themselves, and then pouring back into the community, multiplying yourself and youth, our future. And you are one of those individuals doing your thing, and how in the midst of all of the trauma and things that you endured as a kid, how it was preparation for where God has you today. And at any point from your childhood up until now, you could have, as my husband would call it, chucked the deuces and made another decision, and we would not be here today. But really turning your wheel towards purpose and not giving up. And now there are thousands that are eating the fruit of your suffering. They get to come and sup because of the suffering that you endured. You said yes in and out of the storms, and I want to thank you for what you're doing on so many levels. We'll never know the true impact or the depth of the seeds that you have planted in so many young people. I see the fruit of it in my own house with my sons, and your coaching and the approach that you take. So thank you for continuing to do what you're doing. Keep plowing, brother. And we know you haven't even seen nothing yet. You know, this is you living the appetizer right now. You have a buffet of appetizers. You know, the full course meal hasn't even been served yet, but I believe that you get pieces of that full course meal, and that God's going to continue to elevate him as you continue to, commit your life to him and all that he has called you to do.
I agree. And I thank you for this opportunity to share just a portion of my story to impact someone else's life. That's the only reason why I would even agree to have a conversation with someone of this magnitude, if it's going to assist someone else later on in life. When I speak to people, I always say, one of the things that I say is, put this in your back pocket. You never know when you might need it.
And you said something that I loved, is that you always remain a student. That to me, if you don't get anything out of this brother's story, always remain a student.
Always. Always.
And just where it will take you. It keeps you open-minded, continues to open doors for you. But that closed-minded thinking doesn't work. Does not work, and your life is evidence of it. And so, again, I'm just excited about this. So you have an older son and you have a beautiful daughter. What's her name?
Nyasia.
Nyasia, and she is going to be, is she graduating this year?
She is.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it's all great life. I'm living a great life.
So before we close, do you love your life?
1,000%. It's not even 100%. It's 1,000%.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Imperfect, but you 1,000% love your life.
1,000.
And it comes down to perspective.
Perspective, ma'am. Perspective.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have any last words you want to say to the audience?
My last words for the audience, I would say, is there's someone out there who would trade their life for yours. So let's look at it from that perspective. Sometimes we think, man, I'm having such a bad day. But there's someone who's having a worse day.
Man.
Perspective.
All right, Loving Your Life family. We want to thank you all again for tuning in. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. All righty. Thank you so much, Cory. I appreciate you and love you, brother.
Love you too. Take care.
City that raised me, shout to the people that made me. I'm from the 80s, I don't think mumbling wavy. I grew up like on a Jay-Z, maybe I'm crazy. I ain't been wondering lately, feel like it's there for the taking. Feel like I'm good with the changes, know who I am, and that's the most dangerous thing.
Hey, Love Your Life fam. It's Crystal and Andre Holland.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, looking forward to hearing from you. So it's the finest. You can check us out on
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher. We look forward to hearing from you all.